Hello, Vincent sir. Welcome to Zipcare Talks. We are extremely happy to have you today. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Amazing, amazing. Before we start our whole interview, I would like to tell you a little bit about Zipcare. So, as you know, you are one of like our mentors and guide members in Zipcare, and we are a mental health app, and our aim is to uplift people's mental health. Yes. And can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm a practicing counselor. I'm 20 years old with 46 years of experience. Now,
Amazing.
that doesn't tell you only my age, but it also tells you my present status in my profession as a counselor. At 20, I still have one more year to become an adult. So I'm still a
Yes.
child.
How
And
sweet.
all those who have studied transactional analysis will know from where I get my creativity, my energy, and my naughtiness.
Amazing, sir. We would love to know about all of that in this interview.
I began counseling even before I completed my graduation.
Can you?
It first started as a flair, developed into a hobby, and later on it became my profession. I finished my graduation in arts with entire psychology, proceeded further to do my master's in abnormal and clinical psychology. Then, because of domestic constraints, I had to take up a job. So I worked in Bank of India as a clerk for 23 years. During those years, I did very intensive training in various branches of psychotherapy to upgrade my counseling skills.
Mm-hmm.
Then I resigned from the bank at the age of 45. 4 years after that, when Nirma University invited me to join them as a professional counselor, I again joined at the age of 49 an institute in
Amazing.
Bombay, Institute of Psychotherapy and Management Sciences, and I did a 1 year diploma in counseling and psychotherapy.
Amazing, sir.
I did very well. At that age, I could write some 20, 22 pages. I'm sitting for 3 hours examination, 5 papers.
Wow. Wow.
I felt nice about that. So I said, why not one more year? So the following year, I appeared for another 5 papers and completed my Master of Science in Psychotherapy and Counseling.
Great. That's amazing, sir. I mean, wow.
Then I joined Nirma in 2005 at 50. I worked for till my retirement age, 7 years I worked there. And then after that, I worked with 2 other institutes. And now I'm on my own.
That
But
sounds
I
great.
must acknowledge one thing. All my success in counseling is not so much because of the education, the academic education that I have had, or my expertise that I picked up from my training. I think a large part of my success is because of the energy that every single client brings to the counseling process.
Totally. Totally.
Every client is new. That is why what I'm saying is not just philosophy or pseudo humility. No, every person, every client is new. So every issue that I encounter is new. And every unique client brings a unique amount of energy with him to the counseling process,
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
which he is going to solve his own issues.
Agreed. Agreed. Agreed.
So the only way forward is for me to absorb the new knowledge that the client shares and accept gracefully the energy that he brings to the process.
Got it.
So my success to a large extent is dependent on my clients. And I'm very grateful to all my clients with whom I have worked for so many
That's
years.
very sweet of you. That's very sweet of you, sir. That's great. The only question which pops in my mind after listening to your whole career journey is why did you choose this profession? Like, you worked in a bank, but then you were always fascinated with psychology as a subject. Then what was your interest point?
Yeah. Psychology, and especially the branch of counseling in psychology, came very naturally to me. Even when I was in college, especially my last 2 years of college, I used to find people coming to me and talking to me about their issues.
Got it.
And they would share with me so many confidential things which they would not normally share with anybody and everybody. And when they have finished, they would say, "It was nice talking to you." And I was wondering, I have not done anything. This
Yeah.
person comes and says so many things and walks out a different person.
Got
I
it.
felt
Got
very
it.
nice about it.
Yeah. Totally. I mean, you must have felt very
So,
satisfied with the, yeah.
so with this wonder, I went ahead learning my psychology. I had psychology major in college. So as I kept learning both in my graduation level as well as my post graduation level, all the knowledge that I could absorb, I could utilize. It empowered me to do my work in counseling.
Got it. Hmm.
Then during the bank years when I was doing my intensive training, I actually have worked on myself, on my real issues during those intensive trainings. And when I was working as a counselor during those training programs, I worked on other counselors' real life issues. And for my work, I got supervision from experts in the field, both from India and from abroad. And what I realized through all those programs is one need not necessarily carry the garbage of past harsh experiences and lead a miserable life.
Agreed.
I realized that I think we can make a choice. People can make a choice to dump this and proceed ahead in life.
Um,
Then I joined Nirma. When I joined Nirma as a full-time counselor, it was a job and a profession.
yeah.
Those 7 years and these years after I finished with Nirma, I have noticed that when I am in a counseling process, I don't need to worry about now which therapy will work here. Will Gestalt therapy work or rational emotive therapy work? Actually, those training programs have empowered me. When I deal with my clients, if I encounter my client, confront a client, it comes from this background of transactional analysis that I have gone through.
Yeah.
If I lead a person to catharsis, that comes from the background of Gestalt that I have undergone. If a client is very heady, I have to work with him with logic and reasoning. That comes from my background of rational emotive therapy. So all these different therapies that I have gone through have a role to play in my counseling process. But I have realized one thing as of today, it comes so natural to me that I feel like I have been created, cut and made to be a counselor. I would not have been a success story with any other profession.
That's amazing.
So
That's
for me,
amazing.
yeah, for me, it is not just success. It is satisfaction and it is fulfillment. At the end of the day, I feel nice, not just about what I have done, but about what I am, a counselor.
Yes. I'm sure it's a very satisfactory field where you help people and yeah, I totally get it. So, okay, so you spoke something about past issues that people carry these past issues with them, which and lead a miserable life, right? So, okay, so if rationally speaking, people do that to protect themselves from that hurt, or people do that to, protect themselves from the outside world. So, what would you suggest to people? How can they, let go of their past issues and go ahead? Because there's always that fear of getting that hurt again or getting into that situation again where again it leads to misery. So what is your advice on that?
Very interesting question. I'm working on this at present. We all of us know, even I, when I studied, no, I also studied that all our psychological hassles today are because of past harsh experiences. So as you said, as you rightly questioned also, no, what should we do to avoid that?
Yeah.
Isn't it? See, in as much as we try to avoid it, it remains in the subconscious.
Yes, yes.
And it gets aggravated. The more you try to push it off, the more you aggravate it.
Agreed, agreed, agreed.
But nobody taught us so far that this thing that comes to us from the subconscious to make us do things which are harmful to us, we can also feed the subconscious with good things to make it manifest the good that we can do. For example, we know about our harsh experiences and the role they play, but we take no notice or we keep no record of all the beautiful experiences that we have had in our life.
Yeah, because that's human nature.
I have picked up a new Bible, The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy.
I'm reading the same book, by the way.
Yes, he says,
Yeah.
you make a list of all your good experiences of the past and feed it to your subconscious through your conscious mind with reasons. See, I have got so many experiences. I know I am a beautiful human being. Then the subconscious starts manifesting the beauty that you are. So that effort to push out the negative, harsh experiences need not be there at all. We dwell more on our positive experiences to such an extent that it enriches us and empowers us to live a meaningful, fruitful life. This will remain there. This will never go away because it is a part of our real life experiences.
Yeah.
So let them remain there. They will cause us trouble from time to time, huh? They will. Let them remain there. But let us live an enriched life because of the beautiful human beings that we are.
Totally. I think very well said. I think this would help a lot of people because the most difficult thing is to accept that it has happened to us. Because of the lack of acceptance, it's difficult for people to move on in life. Totally. Yeah. Very well said. So, sir, can you tell us a little about your book?
My book. The name of my book is Let's Communicate, Let's Relate.
Okay.
It is a counselor's approach to communication. I believe that for a person to grow up as a fully human and fully alive, he needs to communicate. And I believe that the Creator has given each human being enough skills to be able to communicate. So this book talks about how we can succeed 95% of the times in communicating with just about anybody, irrespective of language, vocabulary, or grammar.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Can you please elaborate?
The chapters in the book are dynamics of human interaction. When two human beings come in front of each other, there is already communication taking place even before we decide to communicate.
Yeah. Totally.
Communication takes place at 3 levels: the sensory, the cognitive, and the affective. And both ways. On the cover of my book, I have shown all those arrows.
Wow.
Multiple communication.
Uh-huh.
And the remaining chapters are self-awareness, self-confidence, our belief system, the science of listening and the art of listening, non-verbal communication. These are the chapters that are included in the book. It begins with an introduction in which there is a story of an illiterate Indian farmer from Gujarat. He decides to have an interaction with a Hollywood superstar. And he goes to London and he communicates with him for 1 hour.
Oh.
And the interviews in the press show that he succeeded 95% of the time.
Okay, that's amazing.
And the 5% he could not succeed, the remaining 5 is because of the language, the vocabulary.
So basically, non-verbal communication did the whole thing.
Yeah. So my question to the people who read this book, my book is, if an illiterate Indian farmer can succeed to communicate 95% of the time with a Hollywood superstar, you and I are in a much better position.
Definitely. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That is my book.
I think it sounds lovely. It's great. Can you please tell us why did you write this book, or what was your idea behind? What was the message you wanted to communicate to your audience?
To the audience,
Yeah, like
I wanted,
every author has
yeah,
this thing, before he writes something down, he's like, this is what I want to communicate to the people who read this book. So, what was your message?
yeah. This book is normally used now in engineering colleges of North Gujarat. You'll find it a copy of several copies in their libraries. Many Gujaratis, especially those into professional education, they are excellent in their fields, but they are a failure as far as communication is concerned.
Yes.
And they don't get jobs because of their lack of communication.
Yes.
So this book says, if an illiterate Indian farmer can succeed 95% of the time, you are in a much better position. Start.
Wow.
So my audience is actually the engineering students or all students of higher education.
That's amazing. I think the whole idea behind it is great, sir. I mean, not a lot of people think about this, but then you wrote a whole book on it, so that's great. Okay, so my next question to you is, how do you think psychology professionals can help make a difference in the world? As in, see, because of the pandemic hit, there was a mental health boom in the world. So then, initially psychology wasn't given a lot of importance, but now it is. So how do you think professionals can help make a difference?
Very short answer. I think when you say can make a difference, you mean bring about a better life.
Yeah, better lifestyle for people. Yeah.
Very simple. Spread happiness all around. Spread cheerfulness all around. Spread chirpiness all around. Make people laugh. Appreciate people for the smallest thing that you find worth appreciating. Praise people. Smile at people. Make people feel nice about what they are. And I must tell you, Ashka, for this, you don't need to be a professional counselor or a professional psychologist.
Yes.
Anyone, anywhere can do it to anybody, anywhere, anytime. I have made a 4-minute video on this, which is on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's also with ZipCare.
Yeah. We'll link it down.
Yes.
Yeah. That's great. I think this is the best tip anybody could ever receive, because I mean, you don't have to be a professional to do this. You can simply do this every day with the people you meet. Even with the strangers you see on the road, you can do it with anybody. This is really beautiful. It's very nice and sustainable also. Great, sir. And I just wanted to ask you, what are the drawbacks people face in this field?
There are two major drawbacks that people face in this field, and both of them are connected. The first one, you must have also heard many times. People say that I am not mad. Why should I go and see a psychiatrist?
Agreed. That's a taboo, huh?
Answer is very simple. You are not mad. You don't need to see a psychiatrist. And the second question connected to this is, many people keep delaying seeking help for their psychological issues. They keep delaying to such an extent that ultimately they undergo a breakdown. And then they run to a psychiatrist.
Yes.
They don't know that there are at least 4 things or perhaps 5 things that they can do before going to a psychiatrist.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing they can do, use their defense mechanisms, as psychologists say.
Yeah.
Defense mechanisms are choti choriyan, small.
Yeah.
You blame somebody, make excuses, lies sometimes. These are not permanent solutions, but at least they take you out of a stressful situation for some time, to which you can come back when you are all right. But right now, it is an aid. It helps you. So use it. If you are a very, what you call, ethical person and you cannot, and you think that defense mechanisms are big sins and you don't want to use them, just quit, relocate, get out from the situation.
Yes, yes.
Physically, if possible. Very often, physically, it is not possible. So, mentally
Cutting
means
off, basically.
change the topic of your thought process.
Yeah.
Suppose you are involved in a very bad fight with your superior. Just start thinking of Bharatnatyam or start thinking of football. Thing which is totally unrelated to this. That is relocating mentally. Get out and start thinking of something else. And when you are good enough, you will be able to handle this.
Got it.
The third thing that you can do is talk about your malady, your difficulty to anybody. Anybody whom you can trust. If you can't trust anybody, if you have lost faith in mankind, then you go to your table, take a sheet of paper and a pen and write down your difficulty. Write down your problem. You will not realize that while you are writing, you are also reading what you are writing.
Yeah, yeah.
So it goes out of your system and it enters your system and it is changed.
Yes, agreed. I totally agree.
But you will say, some people will say, if I write something and people read it,
yeah,
if
you can share it and yeah.
If you're scared of that, don't write. Go to a place where you know nobody can listen to you, nobody can hear you, and say your difficulty loud enough for your ears to hear. Don't say, I know it. No, not enough. Say it so that your ears can hear.
Yeah.
Because it goes out of the system, comes back into the system, renewed. Therapeutic.
Yeah. Very therapeutic. Agreed.
Even if this is not possible, then finally go and see a professional counselor.
Totally.
And with the professional counselor, then you decide whether you need to see a psychiatrist or no.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the common man's problems can be solved with a counselor.
Yeah.
All stressful situations, all kinds of neurosis can easily be addressed and taken care of by a counselor. You don't need to go to a psychiatrist. So the answer to my first question, I don't need to see a psychiatrist. Surely you don't. Because you are beautiful, you are normal. Only see a counselor, enough. But people come to a counselor. That is why it becomes our difficulty.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's the topic. Yeah, got it. So my next question to you is, can you give us some tips for aspiring psychologists?
I have 3 tips, small ones, but very significant ones. The first one is, all counselors, we must remember at all times that we don't do anything to anybody, not even favors. We don't do anything to our clients. We don't give anything to our clients. No solutions, no guidance, no advice. We only be. So we don't do, we don't give, we only be. And in our presence, we listen. The reason is, every client who comes with that enough amount of energy to be able to solve his or her own problems. All we need to do by being there and listening is to make this person aware of his potential, of his energy, of his capabilities. Help him to accept his potential. Aware, accept. Help him to appreciate his potential, feel nice about it in his entire being. This is what I am.
Yes.
Feeling nice. And fourth, help him to apply it. The 4 A's. Deploy it, use it, and see what it gives you in return. This is what we do. We don't give anything. As a result, what happens? The end of the counseling process, our clients just walk away knowing that they have solved their own problems.
Yeah.
That is why a counselor's job is a very noble job, a very noble
Yeah.
profession. We
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
get
yeah.
thank yous. We don't get thank yous. The moment somebody comes back and says, "Sir, I'm very grateful to you. You changed my life," we have to scratch our head and ask, "Have I done a good job?"
Yeah, I totally get that.
So
Yeah.
the first tip is we don't give anything, we don't do anything. The second tip is we don't work with issues, we work with human beings. So the focus of our whole counseling process is not solution to the issues. The focus has to be the human being, to help him be human, fully alive.
Yes.
And by human beings, I mean all human beings. Those with psychological problems, we help them to recover from them for the problems. Those who don't have psychological problems but are prone to it, they keep complaining all the time. For them, to help them to prevent themselves from getting into trouble. And for all the others, to enhance the quality of their lives and invite them to well-being.
Yes.
When I say all human beings, I also include counselors.
Yeah,
In fact, ethically, all counselors are supposed to go for counseling at least once a year.
Yeah. I've heard that.
Because we are also human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And the third tip is life is more precious than anything else. We must remember this all the time. Life is more precious than career. Life is more precious than money. Life is more precious than relationships. If I'm caught in a career, in a job where I have such a lot of tension that I almost feel like committing suicide, stop, quit, give up the job. Life is more important. Money, if you have undergone a loss of crores of rupees, don't worry, live. If you can lose crores of rupees like this, you can earn it also like this, provided there is life.
Yeah.
Life is more important.
Mm.
If you are in a bad relationship, stop, quit. You can come back to it later on if possible, but right now, stop.
Yeah.
I find it very difficult to help people who come with marital issues, and some of them decide to divorce, and it makes me feel sad, but for me life is more important.
Yeah.
If both of you can make your lives beautiful, go ahead, separate and live your fuller life. Because I have to remember as a counselor all the time that life and a fully human life is more important than anything else.
Yeah. So beautiful. I mean, I think nobody has ever given these amazing and beautiful and such great tips on this interview. Thank you so much, sir. It was great.
It was my pleasure. You know, one thing I want to mention, every time I'm invited many times now during this time to deliver a session on confidence building to first year students of engineering. And you won't believe, every time I deliver this session, it is of 120 minutes, it makes me 10 years younger.
Oh.
And I have delivered it 185 times in the last 15 years.
Oh my
So
God.
tell me, am I not right in saying I'm 20 years old?
Yeah, definitely, sir. Like the energy
Because I
and
keep
enthusiasm you have.
minusing.
Yeah, the energy and enthusiasm you have is great, commendable.
This interview has reduced my age by 5 years.
Of course.
Thank you. Grateful to you.
Thank you so much, sir. It was lovely having you. It was our pleasure talking to you. I'm sure this interview is going to help a lot of people.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.